Hey again, everyone. Scott here. I wanted to take some time to clarify the theory I presented in the first video and also address some really important points that might have come up for you as you watched. This idea linking Neanderthal genes, connective tissue differences, and autism is speculative. It's not proven fact, and I'm not here to tell you that this is the answer. It's a way of looking at human diversity through a different lens, one that connects genetics, anthropology, and neurodivergence in new ways. I'm sharing this with you because sometimes the questions we ask lead us to somewhere unexpected, somewhere that makes us rethink everything we've taken for granted. But I also need to make sure it's clear that this is not about jumping to conclusions. It's about opening doors to explore possibilities. First things first, I am not a doctor, I am not your doctor, and I'm definitely not a fan of how autism is defined and diagnosed today. In fact, I'm not a fan of it being a diagnosis at all the way it is now. Imagine this. You are finally starting to understand your heritage, the culture you have always belonged to without knowing it, and you're getting a deep sense of self after years of shame or confusion. But then you need to wait, years maybe, to sit down with a doctor who checks off a list to see if you qualify for a diagnosis to confirm that you are who you already know you are. That's how I feel about the pathology model for autism. It's backward. It treats us like a problem to be solved rather than people to be understood. Autism is an outdated word. The diagnosis model is outdated. I don't have a new word to replace it with yet. In my head, I just call it the force, and I know that's lazy, but it feels kinder than something like caveman gummy brain syndrome. And in the end, isn't that what we really need? More kindness? More recognition of the humanity behind these differences? Let me share a few examples of what I'm talking about, because this isn't just about theory. This is about real lives. And I know this theory draws more people into the idea of who's autistic than who we've thought is autistic. And I know that that'll make some people uncomfortable, but there's people we haven't been looking at. The rock star with hyper-flexible joints, always in spandex because sensory overload makes him wear tight clothing to feel grounded and never feel sweat running down his back. He has hyperdontia, too many teeth in his mouth. And he connects with cats better than people. On stage, he's a god, but off stage, he's lost. Would a doctor diagnose him as autistic? Probably not, but you and I? We know he's one of us. Or the world-famous stand-up comedian. His routines are brilliant because they're based on his own monotropic focus, his deep dive into why he doesn't fit in, the constant analysis of human behavior. It makes people laugh because they relate to him without even realizing they're seeing neurodivergence on stage. But his stims and lack of understanding of boundaries and appropriate behavior clash with people's ideas of appropriate behavior, and he flushes his career. Was he autistic? Would the diagnostic model have given him the tools he needed to thrive, or would it have labeled him too late to matter? And then there's the kid, the teenager walking down the street alone at night because it's quiet. People say he moves weird. He can't speak when he's anxious. And what makes him anxious? Loud noises, bright lights, big voices. A police car pulls up, and now all three of those things hit him at once. His fists clench because he's stimming hard, but it's not calming him down. The officer doesn't know what to make of this, and the kid won't make any eye contact or answer, so they touch him. The kid shrieks and tries to run. He's shot dead. Was he autistic? Would he have gotten help if he didn't require a doctor's diagnosis to justify his differences? Would his life have been more livable and survivable if the people around him knew that a whole bunch of us run on a different nervous system? I need to stress that I'm not saying autistic people today have grown a Neanderthal nervous system inside a Homo sapiens body. That's way too simplistic, even if it ends up being true in the end. What I'm saying is that this theory offers a possible explanation for why so many neurodivergent traits cluster together. The genetic story is more complex than a single evolutionary line. I don't believe Neanderthals thought and felt like us, but after early hybridization, those traits might have co-evolved. The body adapted first, and then the brain-body system found ways to manage the world that it was experiencing differently. We're talking about a long, slow process where the physical manifestations came first, and the way those differences affected sensory processing, communication, and behavior came later. It's a theory that invites us to look at autism, sensory sensitivities, and connective tissue disorders as part of a broader human experience rather than isolated conditions. I'm also aware this is speculative. There is no concrete evidence yet that links Neanderthal genes directly to autism or Ehlers-Danlos syndromes. But that's what research is for. It's about asking questions and seeing where the evidence takes us. One thing I can't stress enough is the idea of nothing about us without us. This theory, like any theory or policy affecting autistic people, has to involve autistic voices. We have been excluded from these conversations for too long. The history of autism research is littered with attempts to understand us without involving us. That needs to stop. I'm an autistic man. This theory is personal to me because it's about understanding myself, my community, my family, and our history. But I'm just one person. The autistic community is diverse, and we must have a seat at the table when people start talking about theories, research, and policies that affect our lives. We know what it's like to live inside this nervous system. We understand it in ways a doctor with a checklist can't. So where does this leave us? To me, it's about evolving our understanding of autism and neurodivergence. This is bigger than a diagnosis, bigger than the current medical model. This is about human diversity and recognizing that some of the things that we pathologize today might be part of our ancient survival strategies. That's not something broken. It's something deeply human. At the end of the day, the goal isn't to prove this theory, it's to open up the conversation, to say, hey, maybe we've been looking at this the wrong way, and maybe there's more to the story. And it's a story that involves all of us. I hope this helps clear up what I'm trying to say and where I'm coming from. I'm not saying this theory is the definitive answer, but I do think it's an idea worth exploring. I hope it sparks conversation between autistic people, researchers, scientists, and anyone else who's interested in how we think and about neurodivergence and human history. And remember, nothing about us without us. Let's keep this conversation going, and let's make sure it's our voices that are leading it. Thanks for sticking with me, and I'm excited to see where this journey takes us. That's it. Second video